Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Don't think you did.
I know. Every freaking time. You would think at the 60-something episodes, I would figure this out by now. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Let's try it again. No, I wasn't. Stop. I wasn't ready. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to After Playlist, the podcast that's all about digging up great music, both new and old, and cooking up curated playlists made by real people. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Lee.
And I am Terry. Yo.
Yeah. And as always, we love music and talking about it. And today's episode is all about the trippiest of hops and the hoppiest of trips. That's right. Today, I finally got Terrio to teach me all about trip hop. And you guys, of course. This is actually a very interesting genre that I've been low-key loving for quite a while, and Terrio high-key loving for much longer.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I didn't always realize what it was or what I was listening to or what I was loving. So we all get to learn just what trip hop is today and what makes it such an enduring category of music, hopefully, as well as kind of dive into the wide range of sounds that it can encompass. Speaking of, it is a pretty wide genre with a lot of different approaches that artists can kind of take when making a song in the trip hop genre. So our playlist for this week was likewise kind of big, and even still, it just really scratches the surface of this enigmatic, moody, awesome genre. Speaking of the playlist, we're going to be referring to 25, I believe, songs from the playlist throughout this episode. It's quite a chunker. So just to make sure everyone is on the same page and is familiar with those, I'm going to introduce those songs right now. Okay, so we have Safe from Harm by Massive Attack featuring Shara Nelson. The Blend by the Herbaliser featuring What, aka Jean Grae. You Make Me Feel by Archive. Be There by UNKLE featuring Ian Brown. Play Dead by Bjork. Frozen by Madonna. Les Nuits by Nightmares on Wax. Glory Box by Portishead. Overcome by Tricky featuring Martina Topley Bird. River of Bass by Underworld. Angel by Massive Attack featuring Horace Andy. Bloodstain by UNKLE featuring Alice Temple. Rodney Yates by David Holmes. Jungle Man Corner by Smith and Mighty. Legend of the Golden Snake by Depth Charge. 2 Wiki by Hoover Phonic. Cloud 98 3/4 by Dobie featuring 98. Trans Fatty Acid by Lamb. Unsimple History by Thievery Corporation. Midnight in a Perfect World by DJ Shadow. Headphones On by Addison Rae. Truisms for Dummies by Headache. Premonitions by Pugilist. Falter by Acopia. And Scorpio by James K featuring Hoodie to round it off. So if you haven't already listened to the songs we're about to discuss and that I just outlined, we do have the direct links to the music playlist in the description, aka the show notes, for your listening pleasures.
All right. And before we dive deep into this trippy episode, we have our customary Out the Playlist disclaimers. Number 1, we respect everyone's opinion regardless of how wrong or awful they may be.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, we're not sorry for any bad trip or hop puns that may happen throughout this episode. So no need to guilt trip us about it. Just hop along to the next disclaimer. And number 3, we're just talking about the music, not the artist's real life, personable, cancelable, trippy, psychedelic issues or what have you. We're just talking about the genre itself, and very broadly speaking at that.
Yep. And lastly, if you're enjoying the podcast, please be sure to give us a like and subscribe to the podcast. You can do that wherever it is that you listen to us, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Audible, Pocket Casts. We're literally everywhere. So just make sure you give us a like, thumbs up, heart, whatever it is they got on their platform. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get all future episodes and playlists. And yeah, that's the easiest way to support the show. And it's free. Yep. So get on that. And I guess let's get trip hopping, buddy.
Let's get trip hopping. All right. So this genre, like you, I didn't know I loved it as much as I did back when I found it initially. I discovered it in my own world, in my own life. Not to say that, I found it trip hop. No, no. Once I discovered what trip hop was, it was like maybe in the early 20s or early 20s. God dang it. What I'm trying to say, the early 2000s. Was when I first stumbled across this genre. And that's when I was kind of going backwards. So I was learning I kind of got into techno a little bit and then eventually got into electronica and then eventually got into trip hop. So it was kind of like the inverse, so to speak. I don't know. It's all related in a way.
Right.
So let's go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off and let's go ahead and define what trip hop is. And there's multiple definitions that I found, and they all more or less say about the same thing. But the best definition that I found was trip hop is a music genre defined as a psychedelic fusion of hip hop and electronica with slow tempos and atmospheric sounds. Heavy on the psychedelic and heavy on the atmospheric,
Yes,
sounds.
very.
So I can go into the brief history of it. You want me to go into that real quick or no?
Yeah, let's. I'm interested because this is definitely a genre that has, like I said in the opener there, it seems like it's been around for quite a while and will continue to be around for quite a while longer. So I'm interested in like its roots,
Okay.
at least briefly.
Okay, cool. All right, so before I go into it, how much other genre were you aware of, like before going into this?
I was aware of, honestly, through you and your love of it and kind of putting me onto it more in a more like
Abstract way?
No, like actually less abstract, like a more concrete way. Like I'm sure, or not even sure, I know for a fact I had loved plenty of trip hop songs before. I mean, but much like we keep saying, like I wasn't really aware like of the genre trip hop. It wasn't until you were kind of like introducing me to like, oh, this is trip hop. And then like, over the years you've been like, oh, here's a song, it's kind of trip hoppy. I really love the song. Check it out, blah, blah. That is kind of like, I've kind of gotten a little bit of an idea of what it is. So I definitely had an idea of it being very kind of psychedelic, atmospheric sounds, very down tempo usually. But beyond that was literally as much as I knew.
Okay. All right, then. Cool. All right, then. So, not shocking to anybody who's familiar with this podcast. Apparently, I was born at the wrong time in the wrong country because I am a European boy through and through.
That checks out.
I never knew this about myself until recently, until doing this podcast, because apparently a lot of my love for music, definitely I relate more to the European sound. So trip hop began as what they call the Bristol Sound, aka a city in England called Bristol.
All right, welcome to Bristol, bitches. Crack on, mind.
And that's kind of where the epicenter of that was. If you look at the cover art for this episode, you notice that there's a Venn diagram. And that's more or less what trip hop is. So during this time, like it began in the late 1980s and rose to prevalence in the 90s and early 2000s. But in the late 80s, that's when the birth of hip hop in the United States was, kind of fledgling and started to make its way overseas. And in the community of Bristol, like they had their own little culture, but in the club scene, it was a mixture of all these different sounds. So they had reggae influence, they had dub influence, they had post-punk influence. Like these clubs would be playing all these different types of genres, depending
just really
on
experimenting with it.
Yeah, well, all those sounds were popular at the time. So if you're at the club in Bristol, you may hear like some dance tracks. You may hear a post-punk song. You may hear something like a reggae song will come on or whatever else. Trip hop was like, fuck it, we're just gonna put it all together and kind of just literally like trip hop is essentially music gumbo as a genre. As hip hop became more mainstream, it was mainstream in the United States, but eventually got over to England. They took the America's version of hip hop and the elements of it, like the sampling, the scratching, and the blending, and kind of made it their own into the trip hop sound. Back in the late 1980s or whatever, there was a collective group of people called the Wild Bunch. And they were all kind of just like what what Europeans call like a sound system. So it was like a collective of people, a camp, if you would. And all of these guys are, some of them were DJs, some of them were producers, some of them were just, just mixing and blending and kind of just having fun with the sound and experimenting and writing and kind of, it was their whole camp known as the Wild Bunch. They had a few success. Like it was like a lady named Nene Cherry or something. She came out with a hit. But it was only like in England. It wasn't really like a worldwide hit over here. But that was kind of like the early stages of the trip house sound, because they were focusing on like, okay, we can get these grimy and gritty beats and sample them and flip them up and like make it kind of like raw. But if you have a sultry singer on top of that, that was like a mind fuck around that time, because
it still is today.
It still is. It's like the perfect recipe. You get like a hard hitting tough beat, and then you get like something, someone singing softly over it, or
like soft and sensual, or like airy, as you're about to say, or more soulful, or to dip back into one of our favorite words, ethereal. Like,
yeah. England was known for early hip hop soulful collective called Soul to Soul in the late 80s, early 90s. And also they had the dance scene, they had the rave scene, and they had the unsi stuff going on. So trip hop was like, okay, you know what? Let's find a way to marry the dance scene vibe, but bring it down a notch. And one of the quotes from a video I watched on trip hop, they said, trip hop is more or less, think of it like dance for your mind. Dance music for your mind. So it's not like, or better yet, like dance music with the brain. It's not just party. It's like, okay, I want you to feel the beat. I want you to feel it in your soul, but also want you to get introspective. So that was their take on the genre and switching it up a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine like party boys, doing lines or getting sloshed or doing whatever, and then like getting out on the dance floor and like just going crazy to trip hop, right? It definitely, like you said, is a little bit more introspective, a little bit more like just the tempo of it all doesn't necessarily like fully lend itself to that same like style of partying, like just wild and out, I feel like.
Well, yes and no. So I agree with you, but also I disagree with you slightly, because we've all partied in some form or fashion. There's always the point of the party where like you kind of pass the peak and you're kind of coming down. Trip hop is that coming down part. So like where like you're still in the zone, but you're like trying to taper off a little bit. And that's where I think like the scene, they said like the party scene, the rave scene or whatever, as the rave music started to kind of fade out, those ravers, those people end up coalescing into the trip hop sound, because they yearn for that psychedelic atmospheric kind of sound. So that kind of, instead of beating you over the head with the boom 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 boom, unsi all the time, you still can feel the boom from the bass drop and the kicks and all of that, but you also have the space to kind of like trip out and come down or just be in your zone or whatever. So
that's very interesting, because it's hard for me personally, right? I never really got, like, the whole time I was listening to this playlist, getting ready for this episode, I never really got like a strong urge to dance. I might sway side to side a little bit. Maybe that's just the white boy in me and out of me. But I don't know. Like, it's definitely like trip hop to me is like a great genre of music to put on in the background while you're doing literally any and all tasks, I feel like.
I agree. So like, okay, well, it's 2025 now. So trip hop is definitely a precursor to lo-fi music. And lo-fi music essentially is like lo-fi music, the genre now that's kind of taken over a little bit now on the scene. It's basically the down-tempo portion of trip hop. So trip hop, there's the up-tempo trip hop, and then there's the down-tempo, chill, ambient, really just in your own little world version of trip hop. And I try to include a lot of those, like a mixture of the different types of trip hop on the playlist. Now, I'm sorry, but not sorry for the playlist, because look, I made sure I gave myself a hard limit of 25 songs. Granted, each song was like 25 hours each, but it's still 25 songs.
There's a lot of like 6 and 7 minute songs, but there's also like a good number. There's a good handful of like 2, 3, 4 minute songs too.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. So going back into the history of it all. So I kept mentioning the Wild Bunch back in Bristol. They're kind of like the pioneers of the trip out sound before it took over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So the Wild Bunch ended up disbanding shortly after it formed. So it only lasted like a short period of time. However, from the Wild Bunch came groups like the Massive Attack, Tricky, and a couple of other members ended up spinning off and forming their own independent groups like Portishead and some of these other bands that end up coming together at a later point to adopt the sound and continue to make music. Some of the characteristics of trip hop, the tempo is usually around like 60 to 100 beats per minute. It definitely relies heavily on sampled sounds and sampled music. So much so that, of course, early hip hop was pretty much predicated on using samples out of necessity and also out of creativity. And they ended up taking that element from hip hop, using that overseas. But they also wanted to flip it up on its head as well by getting other unique samples like the Portishead song that I have on there, Glory Box. That has a sample from an old Isaac Hayes song. Then the first song on the playlist, Safe from Harm, that's like a sample from like a old blues song or whatever. So a lot of the prominent notes in some of these songs are heavily sampled or like heavily what's the word I'm looking for? Heavily damaged. Because keep in mind, this is the early 90s. So there wasn't digital. So to get that, so to get that raw and gritty sound, some of them would get a vinyl record. Hooray! Get the record, take it outside, stomp on it, just to get that extra crackly, sound out of it, and then to bring that in there and record it to tapes. And of course, like back in the day in the studio, you only had a certain amount of tape and you could only use it maybe once or twice, if that. And especially if you had the old school technology called DAT, which is actually like DAT. You only had, it's like, think of it like it's the equivalent of film reel, but for audio. So you only had a certain amount that you could record to. And once you ran out. Like, so they were very limited with resources, but they also were very crafty in manipulating the sound to get the sound and the grittiness that they wanted to produce and put out there. So I find this genre, personally for me, coming from a producer mindset, super fascinating because I've always had the urge of, even when I was younger, like a very early producer, like in my preteens, like playing around on my keyboard and stuff. I was always curious about, if you put this with that, like, how would that sound together? Or finding sounds that don't really go together. Like, I even challenged myself to produce a hip hop song with the tuba. Like, why would you do that? But, that was something I wanted to do at the time. So it definitely influenced me early on, but also I didn't know that this genre even existed back then. So it was definitely in my core as a creative individual. But yeah, overall, like, this genre is like super dope. And like I said, some of the pioneers were definitely Massive Attack. They're pretty much like the OG granddaddies of this whole genre overall. What the song that really set them apart from everybody, there was a song called Unfinished Symphony, which I did not include on here because, again, I wanted to kind of throw some of the hits, but you can easily go find the hits. I wanted to find some of the deeper cuts on this playlist. Some of the lesser known ones. Some of there are some well known songs on here on the playlist.
Say Angel by them is like,
yeah,
that's one of their biggest all time hits for sure.
Absolutely. So yeah. So speaking of Angel, so that was off their Mezzanine album. I think there was their second or third album, and that was like pretty much like their most successful album to date.
That's their third.
Third album. So it has also Teardrop on there, I believe. And I think that's like a lot of their music has been used in commercials. I think the song Teardrop was used on the show House as the theme song. So again, it's the thing that makes this genre so wonderful and unique at the same time is it started off as, some kids back in England taking the hip hop sound and marrying it with its own sound, you know, and its own cultural influence. And now it's just pretty much part of the zeitgeist. It's in the DNA of everything. So it took hip hop elements and then eventually became part of hip hop again. Because if you go back and listen to like the boom boom sound, the boom bap sound, got that elements in there. You got like the, you know, guys like MF Doom, so many what's the name, alternative hip hop artists that gravitate towards the trip hop sound. And it's great. I mean, it's just, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I just love the creativity that comes with it and how people can take something from nothing and turn it into like the DNA of like a whole culture of a whole era. So,
and like one song that you do have on the playlist that I feel like really proves the point of it just kind of being in the zeitgeist, right, is Frozen by Madonna. Like Madonna had a song with trip hop instrumentation, like in the late 90s, like at arguably her like highest peak, or at least close enough to her highest peak to not really be much different.
So
like,
so I'm glad you brought that up, and not to cut you off, but I just wanted to kind of highlight this. Frozen is the only song off this album I've heard. Now, in hindsight, you're doing my little research on this, the whole album is trip hop, more or less. So that whole Ray of Light album was like her kind of, okay, let's preface this. Let's just say, let's go ahead and call a spade a spade. Madonna is a pop artist. So whatever is hot, she's just going to do that. She doesn't have a genre. She just, whatever is hot, that's what she does. So,
because as we've discussed way back earlier in the podcast, pop music is popular music.
Exactly.
I believe you said that, and I had that epiphany like one of our earliest episodes.
Yeah, man. Like I'm still like getting the brain splatter off my wall from when your mind blew that moment. But yeah, so again, it started in the late 80s, early 90s. It got to like the peak trip hop time was like 96, 97, 98. Definitely there were some bangers around 94, 95, but I really think around like, I would say correction. Let me step back on that one. Let me say around like 95 to 2000 was like the peak trip hop sound throughout various different genres. There's other artists on here that I didn't even feature because of lack of space and time, but Moby.
Well, again, Mezzanine by Massive Attack, that album we were just discussing, that came out in 98.
Yep.
Just as another kind of example to your point, right?
Mm-hmm. So Mezzanine definitely was that one. Other artists that had trip hop music that's not featured on here, like Moby, for example. Like Moby did techno for a little bit, then he switched over and did an album called Play, and I think that was pretty much all trip hop influence. And he went on to become like a global sensation off of that. I did have a song on here. I did have one of his songs on here. I think it's like Porcelain or something. But I kind of took it off. I was just like, it's too mainstream. So I wanted to kind of try to find some deep cuts, but also some familiar ones as well. So that's it as far as like the lore and the history of it all. I didn't want to go through and make this like a whole diatribe, but I did want to spend some time on the music because I am absolutely curious about some of these songs that I pick and what your thoughts are on those.
So, I mean, yeah, let's definitely dive right into the playlist. I just want to talk about, there's a few things I noticed that I think you mentioned already, but it was definitely like kind of nice for you to like actually go in and explain like what the genre is, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noticed is it's very, which makes total sense, but it's very drum heavy more often than not. But specifically in the drums themselves on many of the tracks, at least on the ones from this playlist, it's very snare forward.
Yes.
Which is something I just thought was like very interesting, and definitely is like, to me, that's like a key part of the trip hop sound almost. Is like you have the other part is it being like a break beat. So you have like these break beats with the drums and everything, but it's like with the snare being kind of like leading the charge almost. Yeah. Which was just something I loved.
Absolutely. And then again, this is like coming from the early stages of hip hop, and I feel like trip hop is what early hip hop used to be, and is like kind of caught in a time capsule, if that makes sense. Like hip hop has evolved and moved on to, all these other things, which is great. But I feel like trip hop is like, you know what? We started in the late 80s. We came to be in the early 90s, and this is the sound that we're going to stick with. and this is the sound that we're going to vibe with, and we're going to continue to stay in this era and, you know, manipulate it and add things and take away things, but we're still going to keep the core of like that early hip hop.
That is interesting that trip hop songs released today do still have that, like you said, that core identity intact from like remaining all the way from back from its inception, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, like you said, like a lot of genres, hip hop. I mean, hip hop is the most popular genre, so like that's the easiest one to point to. But literally, look at any genre of music. Since the 80s, they've all evolved and come out with different sounds. So that is an interesting. I didn't really think about that, but that's a very interesting fact about it, that they've been kind of true to the sound in a sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I wanted you to notice, I wondered if you noticed like along with the samples, that there's a lot of strings as well.
There is a lot of strings. Yes, I did notice that.
Yeah,
I did enjoy that.
Yeah. So and I think that's part of the intentionality of trip hop. Again, you got the hard beats, you got the hard bass, you got the hard snare, you know, hitting you in the face, and a little bit of the dance element with it, but you got the strings that
which helps set it apart.
It sets you apart, but strings as a classical instrument in general has always been designed to make you feel. And I think that forces you to feel more along with the breakbeats on top of that. And that's why I think they kind of shoehorned the classical element into the genre. And in particular on certain songs or whatever, it just really, like the swelling of the strings and the orchestra sound, all of that, it really forces you to like feel and embrace what's happening in your ear holes, if that makes sense.
Definitely the way they utilized and I don't know if they're all samples or original or not, but the strings how they utilize the strings rather on the songs adds like some more emotional depth, I would say, to the songs. Is how I would describe that for myself.
Absolutely.
I agree with that. Okay, I mean, we want to kind of dive into like some of our favorites, or how do you want to start talking about this?
Well, all of these are my favorites, so I'm very curious about which one stood out to you and why.
Okay, well, I'm going to start off with probably the most obvious, and that's one that's kind of at the end. It's one of the more wordy. It's not really singing as much as it is just like speaking over it, but Truisms for Dummies stood out to me. Like that one in particular, just because you told me before sending the finalized playlist, like, please try and step back from your lyrical brain and don your producer's hat for this, and you know, be in your producer headspace while listening to these. And I think did do that to a larger extent than I normally would have because of your advice. But Truisms for Dummies definitely like kind of brought me back to my core self of like listening to the words, just because of what he's talking about in the song.
I love that song. I'm so glad I stumbled upon that song, man. It's so good. I love the clever wordplay with that one. It's like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for not. How do you say it? He was like, I apologize for not being on time. I didn't know how to do it every time.
It's like, or I didn't know I had to be on time every time. Yeah. Or like, people should worry less about being cool and more about being hot.
Yeah.
It's like, the whole thing cracked me up. And he's like, I hate onions except for spring onions. Everything in the song is true except for that last statement right after he says all that about the onions. And it's just like, what are you talking about, dude?
Oh, man. I absolutely love it. Okay, perfect. So I'm glad you started here. So I'm worried that you may already kind of know the answer, because I know how your inquisitive brain works sometimes. So I did ask you to not like put together the playlist on different platforms and such, because I wanted to surprise you with a little fun fact that hopefully you didn't notice right out the bat. Okay, so again, we talk about how trip hop has been alive since the late 80s and 90s and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything after Midnight, In a Perfect World, all of those songs are new. Including Truism for Dummies. That came out in 2023.
Big up. Keep dropping bangers.
They definitely... I didn't look them up before this episode, but they definitely do have somewhat of a more, like, I had the thought of like, these sound a little bit newer. I had that thought a couple times while listening to the last little segment. Because what is that?
It's the last
just
5 songs.
The last 5 songs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All of them kind of. Well, a big part of it is they have a little bit more. There's a little bit more lyrics, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Then, I mean, there's obviously like earlier songs, like again, like you have "Frozen" by Madonna, where she's singing the whole time. So it's not like it's all just beat, no words before that. But just those in general seem to have a little bit more, like, headphones on. Badass and Ray. It's definitely a little bit more wordy. Of course, like I just said, Truism for Dummies has him talking over it. But that's very interesting.
But like listening to it sonically, you wouldn't tell right out the bat.
No.
So, and that's where I kind of had the epiphany about like this genre being like not necessarily stuck, but like if you're good at the one thing, it's okay to just be in that. It's okay with that.
I agree.
Like Scorpio, like that's with James K, like he's a producer, and I think Hoodie is like I want to say a Korean girl group or something, I think.
That would make sense. I mean, it doesn't like totally make sense, but it makes sense,
Yeah, I could be flat out wrong with that, but yeah, can't quite tell. Either way, so that's that whole sound there. I love Premonitions. Like that one, that's like super snare forward. Like that to me is like the quintessential like trip hop sound. And that one, Premonitions came out in 2024. Yeah, we got some new cuts on here. That's why it's called Trip Hop Classics and Today.
Because we definitely have some today. Which I already kind of mentioned it. Headphones On, Badass at Ray was another one that I really enjoyed. But so going back, I guess, to some of the earlier ones. Of course, both Massive Attacks, the one you started with, it was a great start to start with Safe from Harm. Mm-hmm. I feel like.
Now, were you familiar with that one, or have you heard that somewhere before?
I don't think I had. I heard a good bit of Massive Attack. I think in large part from you over the years. But I'm not. If I have heard that one, I didn't like make a note of it, and I haven't listened to it like enough to instantly like recognize it per se.
Yeah. So So I wanted to start the playlist off with a Massive Attack song because obviously you have to if you're doing a trip hop playlist. But this is also serendipity because this wasn't planned. But Safe from Harm was the first song on their debut album. So it's also the first song on this playlist. Now, Unfinished Symphony is also off that album, Blue Lines, I believe was what it was called. And that's the one that kind of took them, took the world by storm. So just a little brief synopsis of Unfinished Symphony by them. The reason that song kind of took off is that song said, screw the whole format as far as like song structure. So it just kind of was, there's like no chorus. It's just, what's her name? Shara Nelson, and she's on that song as well. She's just singing her heart out, but she's not really talking about anything. It's kind of like a little bit of everything. It's like a stream of consciousness, essentially.
Right.
On a record. And they shot a whole video for it. They wanted to shoot it in London, but they wanted to kind of, because London's, was always like kind of cloudy and dreary. So they ended up shooting it in LA. And it was like, this song came out in like 1991, 1990, around that time. So they did like a one shot like take of her just walking down the street, singing, the song or whatever, and just like being oblivious to what's happening around her. So like, it's one of those music videos where you have to watch it on repeat to see like the weird shit that's happening in the background. Like they had like a 3-legged dog on a skateboard, or some crazy stuff. So like you like keep watching the video. Okay. Like it's like a whole bunch of Easter eggs in the background, and then even the guys from Massive Attack, like were kind of like following her as she's singing, but you don't really see them. Like they're kind of like in the background. Sometimes blurred, sometimes you can see their face. So that's a little Easter egg for Unfinished Symphony. But Safe from Harm, that bass line, which again is a sample from like an older song or whatever, but they cranked it up to 11 and then threw some crazy break drums on top of that. And I was like, okay. And this one video I watched on it when because this is back when sampling kind of just first started.
Right.
So some of the old heads around that time was like, hold up, I know this chord, but how do you get to the loop like that? Like they were just like mind blown. Like, hold up, why is it repeating? Like it's supposed to change. Like, how are you doing that? So they had to like school the old heads on how they did the sampling manipulation and how they were able to kind of just take this little part and loop it and then modify it and then just keep it going over and over and over and over and over again and then add the other stuff on top of it. And that like blew the old heads' minds like, oh shoot, that's something we can do. and that's what led to like, you know, the guy forming Portishead or whatever, because he ended up working in the studio with Massive Attack.
Because they're another like I don't know, to me, Portishead is definitely another one of those groups that's like right up there with Massive Attack.
Yeah.
When it comes to like the genre. And Glory Box was one of the very few songs from this album that I knew before this playlist.
Did you also recognize it though, as well?
Yeah. I have that song, Glory Box.
No. Like just the sample itself. Did you recognize it?
Oh, no.
Because we actually had that featured on the original sample was an Isaac Hayes sample. So either this person sampled Isaac Hayes or she went back and sampled Glory Box. Either way, that sample has been on this playlist, has been on the podcast before. If you go all the way back to that one song by that one artist that we like, that first song with the I Don't Want to Be Here. You know what I'm talking about?
No. 60 episodes ago, bro. That was so long ago.
Alicia Cara Here. It's the same sample.
Does that sample it?
Go listen to it right now.
I'm going to do that.
Pull it up.
Yeah, 100%. Like I just did like a side by side. I love that song too. How did I not connect that?
Yeah. To be fair, you know, we're like 60 episodes in, but like I was gonna originally use the other song by Portishead that's like super famous called Sour Times. But so to be fair, trip hop overall, lyrically speaking, a lot of times, a lot of the subject matters that they cover in the songs are very kind of bleak and dark and moody. But Sour Times was like really negative, and I was like, I don't really want to get into that kind of headspace with it. So then I was like, oh, let me see what other songs were popular. Because the thing about Portishead that I'm discovering was around the time when they were coming out in 1994, they were very anti everything, more or less. Like they weren't really big. They weren't big on doing press. They barely did like interviews. They would perform live out of obligations. But outside of that, they were pretty much like aloof, and they were just like, fuck the system, whatever. We're just making music, like whatever, dudes, like fuck off. And they go and sell like 3 million copies of their album, Dummy. And like that just goes to show you, like, obviously, you know, it's definitely, you know, of its time and of its era, but at the same time, you don't got to be tap dancing all the time for people to find good music. Good music will find its way to people. And I like the lore and the mystique of the group. And like, even to this day, like the lead singer, Beth, whatever her name is, she's like aloof as hell. She's like, don't talk to me. Like, are you working on anything? Whatever. I might be working on something. I might not. I'm not telling you. that's
leave me alone.
Leave me alone. Just like, I want to give you money. No, I don't want your money. I just want to make music. So I thought that's pretty dope, pretty cool as well.
Well, one quick note. Trip hop, I feel like this might just be like a personal thing for me, but I do feel like trip hop kind of lends itself to like sensual moments.
It can be, yeah.
Like if you're trying to like play music in the bedroom with your significant other, right? Like it can definitely lend itself.
It can set the mood.
So I definitely have, like, I have several for my personal like bedroom playlist mix that I got. I have several trip hop songs on there. But 2 of them actually ended up on this playlist, and that is Glory Box and Angel by Massive Attack. Because those are classic, and Glory Box in particular, with like what she's singing about, definitely also lends itself to that, in addition to the tone of the music. So I just thought that was interesting. Wanted to point that out. Whenever I saw that on there, I was like, I gotta mention this. The multifaceted use of trip hop right now.
I mean,
it
again,
it can be used in a rave. It can be used for wow chicka wow wow.
Exactly. I mean, it's called down tempo, you know, for a reason. You know, sometimes you gotta go down. You know what I mean? But but yeah, just like, again, like it lends itself for, it has like has the down tempo, downbeat, the chill aspect of it, the acid jazz complex of it all. Like it has the smooth soulful moments, and then it can hit you in the head with some crazy breakbeat reggae influence. Songs like I threw this random cut on here that I found called Jungle Man Corner. If you listen to that cut, again, that came out in, if I'm not mistaken, 93? What was that?
95.
95. That's like a precursor to dubstep.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you just hit the whole vibe of it all, and again, and dubstep is, derivative of reggae.
And that's definitely the one with like the almost like Afro beaty-ness to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I enjoyed that one. That one was because it's like it's tonally slightly different from the rest of them. It definitely set itself apart on the playlist.
Yeah. I wanted to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. So I wanted to kind of hit you over the head with like a little bit of like, okay, so this is my logic of the playlist structure. I got the OGs in the front a little bit, and then I kind of want to hit you with like the stringy, commercial, like versions of so you can see the broad appeal like Madonna and Bjork, like Play Dead, like that came out in 93, and that was like she like changed her whole style of music.
Which again, just Bjork always being on the front edge of like what's weird and exciting and new and good somehow still. It's like
exactly. It's weird, exciting, good, and timeless. And that's the thing I love about all of this. Like, because they're in their element and they're being creative, it feels of its time, in the future and in the past at the same time. It's just, it's freaking timeless. Like, I love it. So then I got like the string section or whatever, where it's kind of like, the stringy songs, and then it kind of smooths out and then kind of gets really dark with the gloomy, like the gloomy box, but the glory box and Overcome and River of Bass and Angels. I
love River of Bass too. That was a favorite of mine.
Oh man, bro. When I came across that, I was like, what? And then I found the remastered version, so the bass even like hits even harder and even clearer. I'm just like, oh my god, like that's one of the ones I had on repeat for myself personally in my listening of the playlist after I finalized it.
That was one where I definitely, as soon as it would end, I'd be like, all right, let's run that one back again. I did that a few times for that.
Yeah, River of Bass and Bloodstain by UNKLE. Like that was the other one that got me, and I love Bloodstain because the drums. Or like I didn't do the research on it yet, but they had to have somebody live playing on drums, because the way like he went in on them drums, man, it was so freaking good. Especially like going into like the second verse, like that little breakbeat feel situation right there. I was like, that hit so hard. I was like, damn, like I had to run that back multiple times just to hear that snare come through. So then, from that point up, I kind of want to pick it up a little bit, and also want to include some of the cuts that didn't have any vocals at all, just the score and the music of it all, like the Les Newts and Rodney Yates, and those kind of songs where it's just purely instrumental.
I'm glad you brought up the Les Newts, because the first like 3 times that I like happened to catch that this was playing, I kept thinking it said "Les Nuts." Which just cracked me up. It was literally like I think the 4th time listening through the playlist, I was like, wait, that's Newits. This whole time I was thinking it was Les Nuts.
That's funny.
Which was funny. And that's the Nightmares on Wax, which has we featured a few of their songs in the past. I feel like they're definitely another, maybe not like old OG, but they're definitely Are they an OG trip hop?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know for sure, but I felt like they've definitely, if they weren't, they were pretty close too, if not. So you talked about Jungle Man Corner, and I mentioned that like that one was like kind of tonally different. I also appreciated that like right after that, you have Legend of the Golden Snake, which has the, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the one that has like kind of the like kind of Middle Eastern string. At the beginning, it almost makes me think of like a snake charmer.
100%.
Which just again was just like it was. I love that you have those like smack dab in the middle, because okay, I'll be honest with you, it is kind of a bigger playlist, and oftentimes when I was listening to this playlist, I would, like I said, like up top at the beginning, I would kind of have it just like on in the background. So sometimes I kind of had trouble like differentiating, not necessarily like if I was paying attention I could differentiate, but like because I wasn't familiar with most of these songs, like just looking at the playlist, be like, I'm not 100% sure which one that was that I just like I'm thinking of that I listened to earlier, because I listened to like 10 to 12 of them while I was doing the dishes or doing blah blah blah, whatever it was. But those two in particular, Jungle Man Corner and Legend of the Golden Snake, like definitely just immediately stood out to me and were like very recognizable. And Legend of the Snake, definitely I went ahead and like added to my likes, so it'll start, YouTube will get the idea, like
they give me more of that.
I mean, I did that for a few of these, don't get me wrong, but that one I just want to point out in specific because it's pretty unique. Again, just like Jungle Man Corners, it's pretty unique within the trip hop space.
Yes, absolutely. And both of those songs came out in 95, by the way. So yeah, Jungle Man and Legend of the Golden Snake. So again, we did mention how trip hop has a lot of hip hop influence. So I wanted to incorporate some hip hop within this playlist as well. So what did you think of the two hip hop songs I had on here?
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I legit thought that was like the first time I was listening to it, I thought it was Chica.
You know what? It does like have that same vibe, right?
Like
I was thinking the same thing too.
She has, I guess that's 99 or 98 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's doing the rapping on that.
98, yeah. Yeah, 98 is doing the rapping on it.
She definitely has a cadence, like, or I guess Chica has a cadence similar to her. Like I was legit like, oh man, he got Chica on here. And it was like, because I was driving the first time that song came on and I was listening to the playlist and I had to wait till I got to a stoplight and be like, who is this? 99. I thought for sure this was Chica.
Yeah.
That one was good.
I had the same epiphany. That's funny.
It's crazy. I challenge anyone to go listen to that song right now and tell me it doesn't sound like Chica.
Right.
What was the other hip hop one?
The Blend.
Oh, by the Herbaliser. Okay, I think that's one of the ones that kind of got like lost in the sauce a little bit for me.
Okay.
Because I would be like riding high on Safe from Harm, and then I would kind of, I guess I remember vibing to the Blend a good bit, but then You Make Me Feel by Archive was like another one of my favorites. So like it was kind of like sandwiched between two of my favorites from the playlist a little bit, if that's
That's fair.
I'm glad that you asked that question though, because Dobie was also definitely another of my favorites, and that was literally the next one I was wanting to talk about was Dobie. Just it is nice that, like you said, you had a couple of actual like hip hop song, like, you know, actual rapping on the beats, just to kind of to highlight its roots and the merging of the genres, right, and the music gumbo that we so love and are hopefully well known for here at After Playlist. It just personifies that very well.
I think we pretty much covered every song except for what did you think about Trans Fatty Acid?
In the middle of one, I don't know what drum they're using, but to me it sounds like they just have like a pot that are smacking a wooden spoon against.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like in the middle.
I was like, I think that's the one, but let me make sure because it's like a 7-minute song. Yeah, that one had a lot of really fun random instrumentations like that throughout. I felt like the singing was kind of sort of took me out a little bit. The singer, her voice itself is kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost, I don't want to say whiny maybe, but it's like, like, but the instrumentation of that is definitely the highlight. So like, it's worth it to listen to regardless of that. You've featured Lamb before. Yes. I recognize that you featured Lamb and we talked about them, but I didn't remember quite where that was. I didn't go looking to see like which playlist that was from, but I definitely remember us talking about Lamb and how they're a German, like late 80s, early 90s electric like duo, I want to say, right?
Yes. Yeah. So if you remember back on episode 6, the song Lusty, remember the song about the chick that's singing about how horny she was?
I think I said the same thing or a similar thing at least on that discussion for that song too, about the singer.
Yes, you did. So like when I was doing my research, like Lamb came up. I was like, Lamb? What? And then like I went back to the album. I was like, oh snap. So I knew about Lusty from a compilation, but I never listened to like their whole album. And then Trans Fatty Acid was like one of the top recommended.
You just saying the name of it just reminded me of that song. I literally don't think I've listened to that song since then.
I'm quite sure you haven't. Like, what reason would you have to? But you listeners should. So go back to episode 6. We got that playlist out there. It's called the only song we like by that one artist.
There's already been 2 songs. Yeah, it's crazy though that I remember that one. I remember Lamb being on a previous, but I didn't connect the Here by Alicia Clare. But yeah, Lamb. This is another one where I think much like Lusty. The instrumentation is definitely like such a highlight. Just what they're doing in with just the medley of sounds they have is how I'll choose to put that.
Yes,
it keeps you engaged. It kept me engaged for all 7.5 minutes at least.
I think one of the last ones that we probably should talk about is Un Simple History.
Oh yeah,
Thievery Corporation. Now that one is a fairly recent one, so that one surprised me, because I actually had this song in my own personal archives, and then when I was doing my research of trip hop songs, I was like, "That's trip hop technically," and I really thought about it. I was like, "Oh shit, it really is." But I just like the song on its own. I don't remember how I found it. I think I was like in electronica phase. I felt it was right to kind of put it into the playlist. I think they're French, or
I was about to say I'm pretty sure they're French based on the language that they have. Like the lyrics looks French to me. That was another one that I did really like. I don't know if I'd quite say it's like one of my favorites, but that's literally just because like what I would say are my favorites are like so good. It's like, stacked against them, it's hard to like compete, but it's really good. It's up there. That was one of the ones where like about halfway through my first time listening, I was like, okay, I got to make a note of this one and like double tap my screen to make sure I know who it was.
Definitely worth taking a note. And I don't know, man. It's just there's so many levels to this genre and all these different bands. Like some of these bands, like they will make. There's one more that we gotta talk about.
Is it 2 Wiki?
Okay, 2 more. I was gonna let that one slide, but I do like 2 Wiki though. I don't know what it means.
I don't either. That's a fun song.
It's a fun song. Like it's such a good vibe, and I think it's perfectly. I definitely placed it at the right spot, like between Cloud and the snake, golden snake. So that way it just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of bridges the gap between the two. Okay, so that's the talk on that one. But yeah, just overall, like these bands, like all of them, because of the culture of trip hop itself being almost anti but also inclusive, like a lot of their music in different forms and fashions has different levels of activism in it. So like I know Massive Attack, like they've had some, songs that they put out being more socially conscious, and several of the other bands have done songs like that too. So I just enjoy it. I enjoy the vibe of it. The last song that we need to talk about is Midnight in a Perfect World by DJ Shadow. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he was also one of the founding members of the Wild Bunch as well. It's a whole lot of cross-pollination going on in this little community out there in Bristol. But I enjoyed this one because at first, like, it was another song that I was going to pick, and it was a vibe. It was cool. And then this one, like, the intro is misleading. So it kind of comes on aggressive, but then once you let it play, it, like, really smooths out.
Yeah.
And I like how, like, this one in particular, especially like in '96, it still harkens back to the hip hop part of it because it actually includes some scratching and stuff in it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of show people that this genre overall is in fact music gumbo, and they take a little bit of the pieces of every little thing, and yet it makes it work. And I think with us being music gumbo people, this is like the perfect genre for anybody who loves a little bit of everything, and you can make it work. And if you can find how to make it work. Now, granted, not everything can go well together. You may not need to put the whole thing in there, but you put like a little snippet or something in there, boom, that's all you need, just like a little bit. And like, that's perfect. Overall, that's why personally makes me feel great. So much so that I also have another surprise for you.
Okay. I love surprises.
And doing my little research for this, I remembered that I was still producing at the time when I fell in love with trip hop.
Oh, do we have a Terrio original I'm about to hear?
You have a Terrio original you're about to hear.
Yay.
I know, right? So in digging in the archives, I end up remembering that I had a little trip hop phase myself. Once I discovered the genre, I was like, oh my God, this is so me. Because again, I had an enemy, but I didn't know what it was called, and I found a label for it. I was like, I totally fit into this genre. So this is my dusty original called All a Dream.
This is an After Playlist podcast world premiere.
Let's get it. I love the and how you like when you walked it down. Is that just like a synth piano?
It was what did I use? So I played the chords. It's a simple C scale. I wasn't doing nothing revolutionary, but I found like a distortion tool and like I phased it down. So I think that part was a synthesized guitar sample that I used. That part. And then I did a whole little synthesized layer thing on top of that. So yeah. So
I enjoyed that, dude. Thank you for showing me.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
That's dope, dude.
Yeah. So it definitely reminded me of a past life that I've totally forgot about, and listening back to this playlist on repeat over the past week and a half or so, it just really kind of just like really took me all the way back. Where I'm just like, oh man, I'm definitely not a man of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but I do wonder in a different timeline when I ended up in Bristol. Because apparently, like some people want to go to Mecca, some people want to go to their other motherland. I think Bristol, England, is my motherland, man.
And England in general seems to be like where you belong, musically at least.
Definitely musically, culturally, I don't know, but musically, sonically, yes, I can vibe with everybody. Culturally, I'm not built for it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got, man. Hopefully, I'll help enlighten you a little bit more about a subgenre of electronica that I love. But in my opinion, I feel like they try to classify trip hop as a subgenre. To me, it's its own thing. Like
it's I agree with that. It's definitely its own thing. It's I can understand why you might want to put it as a subgenre because it borrows from so many other genres, but it definitely borrows and blends them together in a wholly unique, so satisfying way.
Yes, absolutely. Well, if you enjoyed this lesson and you want to learn more about other genres that we deep dive into or other artists that we may deep dive into, go to afterplaylist.com to check out our other episodes and other playlists. We do deep dives from time to time, but that's not the only thing that we do. Most of the time we just kind of just whatever theme we're vibing at the moment, we'll just make a playlist around that. But every now and then we kind of need to kind of just pump the brakes. Let's go down this deep rabbit hole and explore some other things. So feel free to, like I said, go to the website afterplaylist.com. You can check out social medias at afterplaylist on most social media handles. If there's a particular deep dive that you want us to explore, feel free to hit us on social media or shoot us an email. We have our email on the website as well. So
yeah, give us a shout for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we love music and we're going to keep on talking about it. So also, yeah, blackgiraffemakethis.com. We may or may not have merch up, but just go there and sign up, get on our emailing list. And whenever we get around to it, you'll be the first to know. Yep. And if you're one of the early birds, we will definitely give you some extra kudo points for doing that.
In addition to more of our love. So, if that's important to you.
Oh, it is. I mean, that's the most important part. Yeah. So, and the second most important part is make sure you follow, hit subscribe, like, share, all of that good stuff. So, all right. Until next time, keep on tripping.
Keep on tripping and hopping.
Bye.
Bye.
Black Giraffe made this.
Right, show's over.